everyone, welcome to my PowerPoint presentation of the timeline for phases of New York forward. This is only specifically focusing on the downstate region for New York City, Long Island, and the Hudson Valley. Presented to you by Randomness LP. I am Andy Pollock. Let's get started. First question, how do we start this COVID road recovery? First things first, Governor Cuomo launched a plan called New York Forward back in April. This was a plan to launch the economic comeback from New York pause that went into effect back in March. Of course, the state of New York was on pause to stop the spread of the novel coronavirus, also known as COVID-19. Essential services like supermarkets, pharmacies, and restaurants were open, but they were allowed to do takeout. They all were allowed to stay open. On April 26th, the governor announced the phases in which businesses can start to reopen. Now, question is, what are the phases? Well, let's go to the first phase. For an example, you should be watching this on Monday, June 8th. So, if you are in New York City, you should be going into phase 1 today. We're already seeing the effects of it. The MTA is already resuming regular bus and subway service, and I, for one, am happy to see online that somebody did some rail fanning and they saw the C train during rush hour this morning. That's a welcome sight for the first time in 3 months. Okay, so the following is allowed to open. Construction, wholesale. I should have put that in, but wholesale is allowed to open. Agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting. Retail is limited to curbside or in-store pickup or drop-off. Manufacturing, wholesale trade, so I did put that in there, good. So I just wanted to make sure that all of this is listed. So if you're in the city of New York, all of this is open today. All of this should be opening, or already has opened. Phase 2, if you are in the Hudson Valley region, which includes Ulster, Putnam, Dutchess, Sullivan, Orange, Rockland, and Westchester County, you will be entering Phase 2 on Tuesday, June 9th, which is tomorrow. Long Island will be entering Phase 2 on Wednesday, June 10th. And I actually spoke to a personal friend of mine this morning. She spent the weekend in New Jersey, and she just got back this morning, and she's doing one more week of virtual working, and then she's going to be back to her office setting a week from this Monday. Now, offices. Now, this is the most important thing. Like I said, she lives in Long Island, this friend of mine. We spoke this morning, and she's going to be going back to work a week from today. Real estate will be allowed to reopen, so real estate offices. Now, I'm assuming if we're talking about offices, because this friend of mine works for a lawyer, law offices will be reopening too. And I would assume accounting firms are going to be opening because, keep in mind, we have the federal tax deadline scheduled for July 15th, but the property tax deadline for the state of New York today just got extended for another 90 days. So, pretty much 90 days from now would be on September 8th. So Tuesday, September 8th, you can file your property taxes for the state of New York. Federal, again, that's on July 15th. In-store retail, the catch is it'll be 50% capacity. Malls will most likely reopen, possibly at limited capacity in Phase 3 or in Phase 4. But in-store retail will be allowed, but it will be limited capacity. You can browse in Hudson Valley and Long Island starting this week, so that's very good news. Car dealerships are going to be allowed to reopen. That includes vehicle sales, leases, and rentals. So that's good news that if you want to buy or lease a car, in the Hudson Valley or in Long Island, you can do that. And I'm assuming a lot of people from New York City are going to take advantage of that this week. Retail, rental, repairing, and cleaning. Commercial building management. This is the most important one. Hair salons and barbershop. Another friend of mine, she lives in the South Shore of Long Island, and she told me she was actually able to get an appointment on Thursday. So she's getting her hair done on Thursday, which I think we're all overdue. But New York City will not get to phase 2 for a while, and I'll explain as we go along here. Outdoor dining was added last week. Outdoor dining, I think, is essential in phase 2 because many of you know the weather is getting warmer. You, of course, want to eat outside anyway, so it makes a lot of complete sense. And this is the last important note I need to add. Governor Cuomo said that places of worship, churches, temples, mosques, for example, they will be able to operate at 25% capacity. Hopefully, when we get to phase 3, that might get added to 50%. So that will hopefully be a good sign. Hopefully, the people can go back to places of worship. It's been 3 months, so that's the important step in regards to that. Phase 3 will be dine-in restaurants. I'm assuming this could be the phase that could feature shopping malls at limited capacity. I would hope that the malls start to reopen sooner or later for one reason, because let's say it gets hot outside and most people in the summer actually look forward to going to a shopping mall anyway this time of the year. Usually it's the summer months, and in the winter months you see shopping malls get their revenue in most of the year. So let's hope that we get to this phase sooner or later. For other regions, it'll probably be next week, because I would assume upstate will be in phase 3 by next Friday, June 19th. So let's hope that maybe there'll be some good news within the next couple of days or within the next couple of weeks that shopping malls will start to reopen. But again, I think it'll be at limited capacity. This is just an opinion, like our governor says, but limited capacity will be good, but better than nothing, because other states have done that. And Connecticut, for an example, they reopened on May 20th, and they have limited capacity in their shopping malls. Phase 4 will be the piece de resistance. Sorry to bring up a little French there, but arts, entertainment, recreation. So, for an example, this would include museums, this would include movie theaters. Now, for the movie theaters, I would say they have to be prepared to reopen no later than, and I have the date because I was talking to a friend of mine. He's a big movie buff. On July 17th, because Warner Brothers is releasing a movie called Tenet. Mulan's supposed to come out on July 24th, the live-action Disney remake. August 7th is when SpongeBob's supposed to come out, and then the week after is Wonder Woman 84. So I would hope the movie theaters in New York State will be reopening. I personally will not be going to a movie theater because, again, I'm in healthcare. You know, I'd rather do dine-in restaurants any day of the week than a movie theater, just for personal preference. But this is the phase where the movie theaters should reopen. So most of New York State in July should have movie theaters reopen. Connecticut's supposed to have their movie theaters reopen on June 17th. So that'll be good news, I guess, in terms of Connecticut. In terms of that, I would hope that maybe some people might take advantage of this and come from New York. You never know. You never know. But anything's possible. But why would you want to go to a movie theater anyway, given the circumstances that not that much is playing? So the arts include museums. Phase 4 could also include large crowd events like concerts or, I guess, seminars. This could also be the phase where, let's say you go to a company and they have a public meeting, for an example. this could be the phase where they reopen to the public. Also, I want to mention education. Now, I'll mention very quickly that special ed children in the state of New York can go for in-person classes this summer. I don't know how that's going to work out, but it does make sense, I guess. This would be a big first test in terms of getting ready for the next school year in September. So if all of New York State can meet phase 4 by the end of July, this should give the school districts enough time to plan out for the 2020-2021 school year. Okay, guidelines. Now, this is very important because this involves a lot of cleanliness. So, first things first, wear a face mask. It's been talked about time and time again. The face mask is supposed to prevent particles from spreading to other people. Spit is one example where it's possible that even as I'm speaking into this microphone, germs get spread. So it is very important that you wear the face mask outside because you don't want to get somebody sick. They may get you sick, and that's where the contact tracing gets involved. So we'll get to that. Washing your hands very frequently. This has been something we've been practicing since March. Wash your hands, kill the germ, kill the virus. Temperature checks are going to be very important. I advise anybody, if possible, check your temperature even before you leave your house. Businesses are required in the state of New York to do that now. Not every business, but offices, for an example, are doing that. So that is very important. And as of Wednesday, June 10th, I'll quickly mention that I would say about 95% of New York State should be in phase 2. The 5% are New York City. But yeah, temperature checks are going to be important. You gotta get your temperature checked. Otherwise, you'll be denied entry. And you'll have to go home and you'll have to quarantine for 14 days, which I know it could be a burden, but do you want to see the economy shut down again? Think that question through. When you leave your house in 2 weeks, you'll be grateful that everybody else was there, that didn't get sick, and you'll be saying, wow, this is so much different than when we were for those dark times in March and April. Social distancing, keeping 6 feet apart, markers can be used. One example is the MTA. They have the X marks the spot. Now, I know you're thinking, oh, that's a corny term that pirates use to hide their treasure. I know it's a kid's thing, but X marks the spot, making sure that, look, you have to be 6 feet apart from people. You can't just be near people and assume they're not sick or not. That's why we're keeping 6 feet apart from strangers, our loved ones who don't live in our houses, and more importantly, our friends. We have to make sure that we keep 6 feet apart. We can't just go back to the way things were prior to March 11th, before the pandemic was declared by the WHO. We have to keep acting the way we did on or after Wednesday, March 11th. So that way, we prevent this virus from being spread. Social distancing is going to be very key. If you don't do it, then you'll see the rate of infection go up. That's the way I can explain it. Deep cleaning. This is going to be important. I personally think the MTA should keep the deep cleaning even after this pandemic is over. I know they say this is a 24-hour city, but keep in mind, after the pandemic is over, you're going to deal with homeless people again. We're going to want to sleep overnight. If we have the deep cleaning, you'll see New York outshine other cities when it comes to being clean. One example is London, and another example is Paris. They shut down overnight, and they have the cleanest systems in the world. So, New York should be the prime model for that, even after this pandemic is over, because we want to show that we're better than every other city in this country. Sorry, LA, I know you got your glitz and glamour, but, New York's still going to be king at the end of the day. Trust me on that. Okay, 50% capacity. This is just a suggestion that 50% is reasonable in the short run. Some places are doing 25%. I can understand that. Now, may go up. Now, if the rate of infection goes down, you can see capacity go up. Now, the quick thing I want to bring up is we had the George Floyd protest. Now, the issue is going to be is that people are being very stubborn on not getting tested. That's where I'll get to right here. Testing is going to be very important. Because you get a test. About 2 months ago, the FDA approved a 15-minute test. So, you get the test in 15 minutes. I know it's going to be uncomfortable to put in your nose, but I've been to an ENT to get my deviated septum checked. I won't get into that disgusting aspect of it, but I'm used to it. I've been to an ENT. I will be fine getting that swab up my nose. You should be fine with it, hopefully. And the contact tracing. The New York State Department of Health, Dr. Howard Zucker, has launched a system where you have a phone call and they tell you you got sick. You need to quarantine. So that's going to be very important. Okay, 7 metrics. I'll leave them up on the screen right now. So these are very specific metrics. As you're reading this, you can see here that State of New York has the most specific guidelines when it comes to a region that's reopening. I'll tell you this right now. The only other state that technically comes close to this is Maryland. Maryland had specific phases. They went into phase 2 last week, and they may go into phase 3 a week from Friday. So, Maryland had specific guidelines too. Maybe Virginia, but I'm not that sure. But New York is the most specific. You can see here. Does any other state in the union offer these metrics? No, only New York does. Only the state of New York. We were the hot spot. No other state in the union had the most cases of this virus. New York did, and New York had specific guidelines. And this is how we meet 7 metrics. The city of New York met them today. We were on pace and we met them. Remember this important fact. Again, we are the only state. This is how we do it in a smart approach. Governor Cuomo discusses Georgia, California, Florida, Arizona, and South Carolina for examples. Their rate of infection went up. The only other state they didn't see a rate of infection going up was Maryland. The only alarming thing about Maryland is Wycomico County and Delmarva, where Salisbury is, they may see 1,000 cases this week, but Maryland didn't see a rapid spike in cases. It was slow, but the rate of infection It's there. It's there in Maryland, but it's not severe. State of New York wants to be cautious to prevent a second wave, of course. We don't want to see a second wave, God forbid. We saw the 1918 Spanish flu. We saw what that happened 100 years ago, and we don't want to see that ever happen again. Reopening fast, or a term used called jumping the gun. Obviously, jumping the gun means you make an assumption, oh, we can just go back to the way things were before this virus, before March 11th when the WHO declared this a pandemic. We saw in those other states the rate of infection go up. The only state that has proven New York wrong right now is Connecticut and Maryland. Those are the only two states right now I can give you. But all the other states, like I listed, Georgia was the first to actually reopen. Look what happened in Georgia. They're seeing more coronavirus cases per day. But the issue is, are they going to close? No, because then you'll see their economy shut down again. You don't want to see that in the state of Georgia, but that's what happened. And again, like I said, Connecticut. So far at the moment, I will tell you this. I have not heard anything from Connecticut about their cases going up. And on Wednesday, June 17th, a week from this Wednesday, they will be opening a lot more things in the state of Connecticut than New York will be. All right, Hudson Valley, I want to get to you first. So you already went into phase 1 on May 26th. Your phase 2 will start tomorrow, June 9th. Everything goes well with the 14-day decline in hospitalization, hospital beds being available. You should be entering phase 3 on Tuesday, June 23rd, and you should be in phase 4 by Tuesday, July 7th. Now let's go to Long Island. They went to phase 1 on May 27th. Phase 2 should be June 10th. Wednesday, Wednesday, June 10th. Phase 4 will be Wednesday, June 24th. And phase 4 should be on July 8th. Now let's get to New York City. So we went into phase 1 today, June 8th. Phase 2 should be June 22nd. Phase 3 should be July 6th. And phase 4 should be July 20th. So that's the way things look at the moment. And lastly, I'm just going to wrap up with summer activities. What are the questions for that right now? At the moment, as I'm speaking, summer day camps are allowed to open on Monday, June 29th. There will be, of course, strict social distancing guidelines. Outdoor graduations will be allowed to hold 150 people starting on Friday, June 26th. And lastly, 4th of July fireworks. This is a big question because many of you know the 4th of July is a holiday weekend. It'll be like that next year, of course, because the 4th will fall on a Sunday. But we have the 4th of July falling on a Saturday this year. Right now, the city of New York is still planning to have the fireworks. Macy's, of course, is the sponsor. However, I would advise check your local municipality to see if fireworks are still happening on Saturday, July 4th, or at an earlier, later date. One example, Jones Beach, they announced that they are not having their fireworks. That's completely understood. That could encourage large crowds. Most likely, you will see large crowd events come back in phase 4. They will most likely be back, but that is all depending on, local elected officials and federal CDC guidelines. All right, so that's going to end this presentation. So I hope you found it very useful, very informative. So that will wrap everything up. So thank you all very much for watching. And until the next one, please take care.